Hello everyone and welcome back to my opinion. And in this video I'll be previewing the two World Cup games that take place tomorrow. The first game between England and Bangladesh and the second game between Pakistan and Sri Lanka. On the first game we saw Bangladesh play against Afghanistan at this venue. And a couple of videos ago when I was reviewing that game I said the side that won the toss should look to bowl first. Bangladesh did exactly that, and that's why they beat Afghanistan comprehensively in that game. I don't think they should make changes to their 11 from the previous game. However, I've been suggesting a change in the batting lineup for a couple of videos now, and that's that I don't think Liton Das should open the batting for the rest of the tournament. I've got him at 5 in this side, and I've gone for the Majid Tanjid Hassan and Mehdi Hasan Miraz to open the batting, Najmul Hussain Shanto at 3, Shakib Al Hasan at 4, Liton Das at 5, Mushfiqur Rahim 6, Tawhid Rido at 7, Mahmudullah Riyal at number 8, and Shariful Islam, Taskin Ahmad and Mustafizur Rahman at 9, 10 and 11. Now, a couple of videos ago, I had mentioned there'd be 4 especially tough fixtures for Bangladesh in their campaign. The first being tomorrow's game against England, especially if England pick the seamers I think they should pick, and if they win the toss and choose to bowl first. And then fixtures against India and Australia and Pune, and then the game against South Africa in the Wankhede Stadium. In any of those 4 fixtures, with the way Liton Das looks to play, do you think he'd be batting past the 6th or 7th over in any of those games? I don't think he would be. And that's why I've gone to bat at 5. Now, with the top 4 I've gone with there, it's the maximum solidity that you can expect with the squad they've got. The reason why I'm saying that is because, yes, you've got Mehdi Hasan Miraz who's done well off late. Tanzit Hassan has shown promise, and Najmul Hussain Shanto has been very good this year. But with that top 3, they're still relatively inexperienced, and especially if England pick the teamers I think they should pick tomorrow and win the toss and choose to bowl first, they may struggle in challenging conditions, and that's why I think Shakib Al Hasan batting at 4 is vital for the side. He's been batting at 5 in a few games recently, and especially we saw him batting at 5 in the previous game. Now, if he bats at 5 in this team, excluding the Netherlands, if you're looking at the other 9 teams, I've got Bangladesh's top 4 being the weakest top 4 in the competition if Liton Das bats in the top 4 and Shakib Al Hasan bats at 5. And that's why I think the top 4 I've selected here, yes, it's still a bit of a gamble, but it's the maximum. It provides the maximum solidity that you think Bangladesh can expect at this point in time. And the reason why I've gone to Liton Das at number 5 is because, especially the first 25 overs at this venue, when batting first it's quite challenging, but it gets slightly easier in the latter half of the innings. You've got the experienced Mushfiqur Rahim and Mahmudullah Riyad at 6 and 7 to guide the team through the latter half of the innings. And you've got Tawhid Rido, who I've not seen him play much before, so I don't know what he'll do. So if there's a player that which is a player that in the latter part of the innings, with the way he looks to play, opening the batting, which is a player that you'd think, with the talent that he's got as well, will be able to take on the bowling in that latter phase? You'd much rather bat Liton Das at 5 and let him bat in the latter half of the innings than him opening the batting when the conditions are at their most challenging and him getting out more often than not. So that's why I've got him at 5, and they probably won't do this, but if they don't, and if Shakib Al Hasan bats at 5, then they'll struggle a lot in this game, especially if England win the toss. And because Shakib Al Hasan and Mehdi Hasan Miraz are players who can bat in the top 6 and bowl 10 overs each, they don't need to make changes in their bowling at all, and they should go with the personnel they went with in their previous game. And especially if Bangladesh win the toss and choose to bowl first, I think this game will become quite an interesting game. Not that it wouldn't be even if England win the toss, but I think Bangladesh would have the best chance of winning the game if that goes well for them. And if that happens, and I don't think it's a given that England win this game with the approach their batsmen look to take, and especially without a Ben Stokes, they may struggle in this game. So I think if Bangladesh win the toss, things are already going well for them in this game. And now in England, they lost the first game of their campaign, and the things I'd said in my preview video surfaced in that game. I don't know why they didn't pick Reece Topley, and they paid the price for that decision in the second innings. I don't think Ben Stokes will be available for this game either, which is a huge blow when playing in challenging conditions against a quality Bangladeshi attack. So, regarding their 11, I've gone at Johnny Bairstow and Dawood Malan to open the batting, with Joe Root at 3 and Moeen Ali at 4. I'll get to that in a bit. Josh Buttler at 5, Harry Brook at 6, Liam Livingston 7, Chris Wokes 8, Adil Rashid 9, Mark Wood at 10, and Reece Topley at 11. From a batting point of view, without Ben Stokes playing the side, I'd mention you've got Dawid Malan, Joe Root at Ben Stokes. Three players have got both gears in the top 4. Without Ben Stokes there, the previous game they played Harry Brook, who tried to whack the bowling from the get-go and was dismissed earlier on for a quick fire 25. In these conditions, if England have to bat first against a Bangladeshi attack that is top class, if they look to whack everything, it will be very difficult for them. And that's why, if you've got Josh Buttler at 5, apart from the players in the top 3 being Dawid Malan and Joe Root, which is a player that you'd think could bat with some temperament at number 4? The only player there is Moeen Ali, and that's why I've got him at 4. He's batted with temperament many times in the past. We've seen what he's done in Test cricket as well at times. And that's why he's got to bat at 4 tomorrow. I don't think there's anyone else who could really fit the bill at that number, looking at the players they've got available. I've got Harry Brook at number 6. Like I said, at Liton Das, looking to capitalise in the end overs. If you've got him and Livingston, that's the place that would be suited to bat. Even if you've got Josh Buttler at 5, you can at times weather the storm. But Harry Brook and Liam Livingston, they mostly bat with one gear, and I don't think sending Harry Brook at 4 would bode well for this side. So that's why I've got Harry Brook at 5, Liam Livingston at, Harry Brook at 6, Liam Livingston at 7. And from the bowling point of view, I've gone at Chris Wokes, Mark Wood, and Reece Topley as the 3 seamers. Now, I've gone at Reece Topley over Sam Curran, and you saw the previous game, yes, a wicket maiden in his first over and a maiden in his second over. But then he went for 47 runs in 4 overs. And like I said, will he give you 10 overs consistently in this part of the ball, in this format? No, he won't. He's more of an impact player. And you've got, in terms of batting, you've got Chris Wokes at 8 and Adil Rashid at 9, who averages almost 20. And in the previous game, Mark Wood hit 15 runs, and you saw what he did in the Ashes at times when he hit a few sixes. So really, if you've got Mark Wood who can do that, do you need to compromise your bowling attack by picking Sam Curran just because you know what he can do with the bat? I don't think you should do that. In terms of the pace that he bowls, like I said, I don't think Sam Curran with the new ball in this part of the board is going to do too much. That's why I've gone with Chris Wokes and Reece Topley to open the bowling, which is a threatening combination, especially at this venue. And Mark Wood, who'll get more purchased bowling in the way he likes to bowl than what he got in Ahmedabad. So I think if England pick these 3 seamers, then I think up front they are a threatening proposition at this venue. In terms of spin, Bangladesh have got the edge. Shakib Al Hasan and Mehdi Hassan Miraz would be a far better commodity than Adil Rashid, but then you've got Liam Livingston and Moeen Ali. So with the spinners, Bangladesh have got an edge, but with the seam bowlers, considering Bangladesh's batting, which you don't know how their top 3 would go, England do have the edge. So I'm saying this again, if England win the toss and choose to bowl first, it would be much more smooth sailing for them in this game. But if Bangladesh win the toss, I think it would make for quite an interesting game, and there is no reason why England can't lose this game, so they have to be careful. On the second game, Pakistan played against the Netherlands at this venue and won the game by 81 runs, defending 286. And with how old Saud Shakil went in that game, I think it makes the team selection quite simple. I've gone with Imam ul Haq and Saud Shakil to open the batting, with Babar Azam at 3 and Mohammad Rizwan at 4. Agha Salman at 5, Tikar Ahmed at 6, Mohammad Nawaz 7, Shadab Khan at 8, Shaheen Shah Afridi at 9, Hassan Ali 10, and Haris Shroff at number 11. And regarding the characteristics at this venue, the first 10 overs being negotiated without losing many wickets is important, and after that it gets a lot easier to bat. There will be purchase for the slower bowlers throughout the 50 overs, and from a batting point of view, you can lose a few wickets from overs 41 to 50 at the end, but yeah, I still think overall you can get a 300 odd score, where it's not impossible to chase that score on the surface. However, I think you'd much rather bat first on the surface, especially with the strength of Pakistan being batting first and defending their scores. And I think the phase that teams should look to limit the damage would be at the death, where a lot of wickets can fall at the death at this venue. And in the second innings, it's slightly tougher to get a lot of runs at the death than it is in the first innings. And that's why if Pakistan win the toss and choose to bat first, if they get at that 300 odd score, and you've got the likes of Shaheen Afridi and Haris Rauf to bowl to death, it will be difficult for Sri Lanka, who themselves, yes, doesn't Sri Lanka got runs in the previous game. We'll have to see what he's going to do in this game. Dhananjay De Silva at 6 is not the ideal finishing option at 6, and you've got Dinit Velalage. So in terms of that finishing core, it isn't scaring anyone, and with the trends on the surface and the death bowling resources Pakistan have got, you'd think if Pakistan batted first and got 300, they would be well on their way to winning this game. They've got Mohammad Nawaz and Shadab Khan as two frontline spinners, and they've got Itiqad Ahmed as well, who can bowl a bit on the surface, which offers something for the slow bowlers throughout the 50 overs. Saud Shakil is probably the best player of spin in Pakistan, and others in this side tend to struggle on the slower track. Someone like a Babar Azam, where I've said even before, where especially at times against wrist spin, he's vulnerable to the googly, and we see even on slow tracks he does struggle a bit against off spin, and we saw that against the Netherlands. So Saud Shakil going well is vital for this side. He's the best player of spin in Pakistan out of what I've seen from the current players, and it's important that they start him and Agha Salman on the side rather than going for Fakhar Zaman to open the batting again. I mean, I've said this about other teams as well. Getting stroke players to open the batting, and especially when Fakhar Zaman hasn't been getting runs, and you've got no reason not to go with both Saud Shakil and Agha Salman on the side. So they may not go with Fakhar Zaman to open the batting, which is a good thing, but I think Saud Shakil should open the batting alongside Imam Ul-Haq. And as far as the seamers go, you've got Shaheen Shah Afridi up front, but I mean, you may not get as much purchase as you would get in other grounds, but still, I mean, we know what he can do up front. And it's a case where I think him and Haris Rauf, more so at the death if Pakistan bat first, I think that is where they will win the games for their side. You saw where the Netherlands got to, I think, 120 odd in, I think 120 for 2 in 20-something overs, and then lost their way in the next phase of the inning. I think that the key for Pakistan and the strength of this attack is that they've got the resources to come back into the game, I think. And like I said, in the last phase of the innings, when wickets are lost at the death, you don't want to be chasing too many against this side. So overall, if Pakistan win the toss and choose to bat first, they've got players such as Mohammad Rizwan, who's been in very good form of late. Saud Shakil, probably the best player of spin in Pakistan. And if Imam Ul-Haq, who hasn't had a great run of scores in his last few games, I wouldn't say he's out of form, but he hasn't had great run of scores in his last few games. If he can get some runs this innings, then I think a Pakistan that bats first wins this game. And one more thing before I move on to Sri Lanka. Since there'll be purchase for the spinners throughout the innings, what you could do, and we saw this happen in a couple of prior games at this venue, you could bowl a spinner with a new ball. And you could bowl Mohammad Nawaz alongside Shaheen Afridi. And since you've got Itiqad Ahmed and Shadab Khan as well, you've got about 25 overs of spin there. And in that case, you could play Wasim Jr. instead of Hassan Ali to bowl in the middle overs alongside Haris Rauf and Shadab Khan. So I think even that option would be good, and I don't think it's a bad thing at all to open with a spinner with a new ball in these conditions. So Pakistan do have the option of doing that as well. On Sri Lanka, a tough loss in their opening game against South Africa. And tactically, I don't understand why doesn't Sri Lanka won the toss and chose to bowl first, even though the last few games in this ground have all been won by the team batting first. And even Bavuma said that if he had won the toss, he would have chose to bowl first. And once again, I didn't understand that at all. And this is a ground that had only seen 300 plus being scored in the first innings twice in its history when it's hosted ODIs. And it saw it for the third time in this recent game where 429 runs were racked up. And I'd said even in the video where, I think one of the videos I briefly reviewed that game. I think it was in the same video where I reviewed the Bangladesh versus Afghanistan game. And I'd said that in the latter half of the innings, it gets tougher to bat in Delhi. And we saw the run rate only increase during that time, and South Africa got to 429. So Sri Lanka managed to defy the trends that we had seen at this venue. And the things I said in my preview had flared up, where apart from Matisha Patirana, and if you haven't got Teakshan on the side, the seamers they've got are all proficient at bowling with a new ball. The moment the death overs comes around and the opposition, if they've already set a foundation before that, you can't stop the flow of runs. Matisha Patirana has blown hot and cold during his short ODI career so far, mostly cold. And the inexperience showed in that game against South Africa. He went for 95 runs, I think, in his 10 overs. and there was no one else once he was going for runs. So Sri Lanka will have to be mindful of that, but unfortunately, they'll have to go with putting faith in Patirana, and when Tikshana comes back, him bowling a few overs at the death, because there really is no one else. If Tikshana's back, then Kasun Rajata sits out for this game, and you go with Dilshan Madhushankar and Pantisha Patirana. And Dasun Shanaka may enjoy bowling on the surface if he bowls a few slow balls. Even in Delhi, he only gave 36 runs in 6 overs when they've conceded 429. So I think he'll enjoy bowling on the surface. And the key for Sri Lanka is that, and from a selection point of view, play Dimut Karanatne instead of Kusal Perera. Now, I won't be surprised if they play the latter, thinking, right, you can get a few runs on the surface. If he's dismissed, and then if you've got a Kusal Mendes who, like I said, he veers on the attacking side. Yes, he scored that 76 against South Africa, and I'm not taking any credit away from him at all, but they got their bowling horribly wrong up front. And we saw him play that spectacular now. But you're facing Shaheen, you're facing Mohammad Nawaz, where the ball will turn when he's bowling with a new ball and throughout the innings as well. And if 2 wickets fall in the power play, the one thing you shouldn't do is lose many wickets in the first 10 overs at this venue. If 2 wickets fall in the power play, apart from Pathum Nissanka, you've got Sadira Samra Vikrama, Charita Salanka, then you've got Dhananjaya De Silva, Dasun Shanaka, Dunit Velalake. Is that enough to bat 40 overs from the 10 over mark? No, it's not. So that's what Sri Lanka will have to be mindful of. And first things first, play Dimut Karanatne ahead of Kusal Perera. And at the death overs, it's the key where if they do lose a few wickets, the problem for them will be, yes, Dasun Shanaka got some runs in the latest game against South Africa, but in this case, when scoring at the death, you do tend to lose a lot of wickets at this venue. If the top 5, if a lot of the top 5 have been dismissed by then, maybe if you got one of them still there, you've got Dasun Shanaka, who you don't know what you'll get for him. Dhananjaya De Silva is not a finisher at number 6, and you've got Dunit Velalage. So you haven't really got that firepower to get that score up to 300 in the end. So the top 5 is going to have to do it for them, and it would go much better if they play the sturdy Karanatne in place of Perera. Mahesh Deekshana's return will bolster this attacking component in all 3 phases of the innings, and comparing the death bowling resources of Pakistan and Sri Lanka, Pakistan have the edge by quite some distance. Like I said, you tend to lose a few wickets at this venue when batting at the death. And if you've got a Sri Lankan side where, apart from Matisha Patirana and maybe Tikshana with the overs he has left, you've got no one else, then you are struggling. Whereas Pakistan have got Haris Rauf and Shaheen Shah Afridi. So, and maybe a Wasim Jr. if he plays. So I think Pakistan do have the edge in that regard. So Sri Lanka will have to be managing things well in this game. And if they win the toss, they've got to choose to bat first. I think if they choose to bowl, they're just playing into Pakistan's strength. And yeah, I mean, the side that wins the toss and chooses to bat first will have the advantage in this game. And overall, I think Pakistan do go into this, do have slightly more resources going into this game. And yeah, I think they'll get the job done. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Share it with your friends. Remember, this is my opinion. What's yours?